good evening. The passenger plane that went missing on a flight from Malaysia a week ago was deliberately diverted from its scheduled route to China after its communications were switched off by someone on board. Malaysia's Prime Minister told a news conference that the plane with 239 people on board could have flown on as far as Kazakhstan to the north or the southern Indian Ocean. There are flashing images in Rupert Wingfield-Hayes' report from Kuala Lumpur.
There were sudden and dramatic developments in Kuala Lumpur today. This white police car has just raided the home of the pilot of missing flight mh370. 53-year-old Zahari Shah was the captain that day. His home and that of co-pilot Farid Hamid were raided following a press conference by the Malaysian Prime Minister. In it, he said his government now believes someone on board the plane deliberately diverted it.
Primary radar data showed that an aircraft which was believed but not confirmed to be mh370 did indeed turn back. These movements are consistent with deliberate action by someone on the plane.
This is what we now know. Flight mh370 took off at 12:40 a.m. heading for Beijing. As it crossed the east coast, a key communication system was disabled. At 1:22 over the Gulf of Thailand, the plane's radar transponder was also switched off. Malaysian military radar then tracked it as it turned back and headed into the Straits of Malacca. This is the last known position. But we now know it continued to transmit satellite data for 6 more hours. That data shows it could have flown northwest towards Kazakhstan or southwest into the Indian Ocean. Whoever diverted flight mh370 did so very deliberately and with quite a lot of knowledge about how to fly a Boeing airliner. In theory, that could mean any of the more than 200 adults on board. But right now, the focus is on the pilots. But tonight, one of Captain Zahari's friends told me it is inconceivable that he could have gone rogue and taken over the plane.
His character, his personality just doesn't point to that kind of a direction. So honestly, I'm in a very confused state at this point in time. If we were to fly on a plane and we were given the choice to choose a pilot, Captain Zahari would be my first choice.
For all of today's revelations, the task ahead is still massive. The hunt for the plane now stretches over not hundreds, but thousands of miles. Rupert Wingfield-Hayes, BBC News in Kuala Lumpur.
Further focused attention on the 12 crew and the passengers. But the motive for someone taking control of the plane remains a mystery. Our security correspondent Frank Gardner is with me for more on that. Frank.
Well, Jane, the whole nature of this investigation has changed dramatically in the last 24 hours. Knowing now that it was a deliberate act by whoever turned off the plane's communications means that either the flight crew chose to do it or someone forced them to do it. But who and why? Modern passenger airliners normally have 2 automatic communication systems on board, called ACARs and a transponder. Disabling them in flight is a technical task. Only flight crew or a trained engineer could have done it.
Well, they must have known what to do and when to do it and how to get access to the ACARS bus. Whether, again, this was a pilot or one of the others, that information would not normally be accessible, so they would have to have prior knowledge.
The pilot and co-pilot of flight mh370 were not initially under suspicion, but investigators will now be looking more closely at the men's private lives, looking for any signs of personal crisis. Then there's the security question. Could someone or some people have got on board and forced the crew to change course? If so, they would have had to overcome modern security systems, but the pilots could have alerted air traffic control. And why target this flight? Malaysia has no real enemies. It did face a militant insurgency a decade ago by a regional group called Jemaah Islamiyah, but experts doubt they're capable of hijacking a plane like this.
If this was terrorism, then it was a very well thought out, planned, executed operation. Spotlight in Southeast Asia in the past often is on Jemaah Islamiyah that carried out the 2002 Bali bombings. but Southeast Asian counterterrorism agencies believe the group is no longer capable of pulling off mass casualty attacks. Their operations have largely been diminished.
As the search for clues continues, on land, at sea and in the air, ever more outlandish theories are being considered. But we won't know the truth until they recover the flight recorder, the vital black box. So we're really left with a number of possibilities tonight, none of which are conclusive. A hijack for either political or criminal reasons by either the crew or someone on board, or some kind of mental breakdown, even suicide, by someone who had control over the plane's systems. Jane.
Frank, thank you.